Hugh was 1 in a billion. He was born grey, just like any ordinary boy, but his skin had no pigment. What was most unusual about him, though, was that he could only hear colours. His hearing was so high frequency that any noise in the normal world was silent to him. As he grew up, everyone assumed he was deaf. He didn't respond to any language, and he never spoke. And to him, he himself had no sound because he had no colour. But when he saw colours, he was in raptures. The sounds they made were so harmonious to him, he would stare at them intoxicated. There was one colour that brought tears to his eyes. Whenever he heard purple, he was overcome with joy. For him it was the most exquisite sound he could hear, the highest frequency of all, and the most beautiful. He lived in a city that was, like many, predominantly grey. Traffic lights were mesmerising to watch as their sounds changed when their colours did. Tropical fish, with their array of striking colours, played symphonies to him in aquariums. He looked into faces all the time. Every single one played its own sounds. Whatever race, whatever culture, the faces had fascinating melodies, some major, some minor, all alive with blends of notes. As a teenager, he had perfected his hearing to tune into specific colours to avoid the cacophony of sounds he'd hear in places like markets and flower gardens, and his sight became ever more acute. He had 1 billion colours in his repertoire, so the subtlety of sounds he heard was as numerous as grains of sand on a beach, a long, long beach. He started to paint huge canvases of colour to express the glorious melodies he heard from everything he saw. One day, Hugh came across a girl being pushed around and teased by guys and other girls. His face flushed red with anger. It was the first time he heard himself. In a fury, he shouted out the corresponding C chord at the group at a tremendous volume. They all ran off in fear, apart from the girl. She was crying, with her head in her hands. As she slowly looked up at him, he saw that her face had a large purple port wine stain on the left-hand side. Instantly, the sounds that came from her face were heavenly. Hugh had never witnessed choirs of angels singing until this moment, but this is what he heard when he stared into Di's face. From that moment on, they were inseparable. Di loved his colours, Hugh loved her sound, and they had a child they named Rainbow. She had her own gift. She could taste colour. But that's another story.